Hi, this is Dr. Randy Hurst. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, then this is some basic education based on my experience working in the alcohol and drug treatment field as a psychologist, later as a psychologist with anxiety issues, depression, general practice, and continued working with alcohol, drug issues, and families, with people directly with these problems, as well as with families and friends. And so this topic, or this segment, is on when helping is not helping. You know, when you try to make things better, when you try to fix things, and it ends up seeming to backfire, things get worse. You know, there's a lot of ways. In fact, my dissertation was on this, where I was taking things that are typical, happen in a relationship where alcohol or drugs are involved. But it doesn't have to be those. It can be other kinds of relationships where there's mental or physical abuse, some other problem, gambling, something that takes away from a relationship. So one of the things that partners can do, and this wouldn't have to be partners, this could be friends, just friends. But if you become concerned for what the other person is doing, one of the things that especially partners will do is try to be pleasing. Try to have the person be happy in the relationship, hoping that then they won't go do those things that are causing problems, costing money, hurting the relationship. Another is to try to fix things for the other person so that they're going to be happy. You know, so not just being pleasing, but actually going out and doing things to try to make interactions better, the family atmosphere, the relationship better, but becoming responsible to be the one to fix things. Giving in to the other person. The other person wants to do something, demand something. Give in. Give the money. Give them opportunity. Let them go because they want to go. And just giving in. Trying to control the outcome. You know, this can be both direct or indirect. And indirect is the kind of more common. So this might be the person who accepts invitations to do things that they feel are safe and avoids, turns down invitations to do things where the problem behavior could easily happen, whether it's drinking, drugs, gambling, or some other thing, by trying to control access to friends, activities, that sort of thing. So that's indirect, but the other person will feel it. They'll know something's up. They'll want to do something else. And then you've got the opportunity to give in. But it can also be direct control. You know, direct control of the money, direct control of a vehicle. Trying or doing consciously, you can't do that. You know, trying to control the outcome, trying to control the behavior. And, you know, if these things are accepted by the other person, if there isn't a problem, if it doesn't set up for reactions by the other person, if they recognize that, oh yeah, maybe it's not a good idea, I do have a problem with whatever it is, again, gambling, drinking, drugs, whatever it might be, then that person is taking on some of the responsibility instead of giving it to you, or you taking it on and trying to prevent something bad from happening. But again, the video is really geared at those situations where the person actively is going to do what they want to do, get what they want to get, will react to any of the indirect or direct forms of control and not respond to pleasing. It'll never be good enough for them because they want to do what they want to do, and you're not going to fix whatever it is that they want. And that's the key, is what do you do if they're just bound to do their thing? Now I see people who do all of these, the pleasing, responsibility for everything, giving in, trying to control, because they're afraid that the person's going to get hurt or hurt somebody else. Drunk driving, say, or drug use. How do you hurt the family with gambling, spending, out of control spending with a credit card where there's not even gambling involved? So what do you do if you try to set a boundary about it and they give in, but then sooner than later they're back at the old pattern? What do you do if they have such a strong reaction that it sets up for you going, looking at, geez, I got to give in. I can't make them too upset. I don't want them to leave the relationship. I don't want them to be too mad. I don't want them to hurt me. One of the dilemmas about all of the giving in is it rewards the behavior, the strong reaction. It's a setup for strong reactions next time. So what is the friend or partner supposed to do? Well, doing nothing doesn't help, because that hasn't changed anything for the person. Trying to control, trying to please, trying to do these other things, if they're not helping, it's real important to figure out what your boundary would be. I had a situation years ago where a wife approached me about her husband's drinking, and she presumed I was going to try to get her to leave him, and really resisted anything that would be any kind of boundary or trying to have her get stronger in how she reacted. And when I clarified, no, my job isn't to try to get her to leave him, that it's to find a boundary she really can follow through on, and that she thinks might have some strength with him. But the key is follow through on, because I hope to really understand how giving in the past set up for stronger and longer reactions because she'd rewarded by giving in before. And so what could she follow through with no matter what? She came back with some very good ones, that she would call the police. And she really knew that she would now, whereas she hadn't before. She really would have the kids, and especially grandkids, go home or not be invited. But especially if they came for a visit and he was drinking, ask them to leave. And had worked it out with the kids, and they agreed, because they had also had their concerns, and they understood where her explanation of where I was going with this. And so, can this kind of thing help? It did make it worse. For a while. Ultimately, it made it better when each of the people involved were able to describe, because I had them write letters. And if you look at the intervention video, this wasn't an intervention. We didn't actually do something, at least formally, with the person, with the drinker. It was an intervention in that all the same elements happened. When they described things that they were concerned about, when they described things they had done before and it didn't help, when they described their caring and their wish to have a connection and have the grandkids have a connection, and described what positive connections there were, especially with the grandkids, that they wanted to keep. They hoped he wanted to keep. But it was the kind of power that's different than the giving in, the being pleasing, trying to take responsibility for everything, trying to control things. It put everything back on, in this case, the drinker, But the same thing can be with gambling, credit cards, any of the other kinds of problem issues that people might have. How to set those boundaries so that the loved ones can follow through, and it leaves the responsibility on the person with the problem. Very hard to do. Hard just not knowing what's going to happen. Hard knowing that there is a risk. The wife decided she was going to mitigate some of the risks by involving the police, which she'd avoided. Very, very hard. She didn't want her biggest fear, which was that he would die or hurt somebody else or leave the relationship. She couldn't do that herself, but she did fear that that could happen. And I said, well, if what you're describing continues, there will be health issues. There could be an accident. There could be bad consequences. On the other hand, in a lot of cases, it's mostly health issues. A lot of drinkers live a long time and won't end up doing what is so feared by family. But the risk is there. And so I just really made a point of helping the person understand that unless the person with the problem takes responsibility for change, they won't change. If you're the one that takes it all, they're not going to change. They're just going to see you as the problem. So I'm going to do another one of these about a childhood thing that I've seen that is similar and different at the same time, but how to try to make changes when helping isn't helping. Yeah. So I hope this helps. I hope it makes sense. Figure out boundaries that are important, but ones that you really can follow through on. And if there's others involved, try to get them similarly following through and having their boundaries. Thanks.